You know what old Jack Burton always says at a time like this?
Come on, then. I'll bite your legs off!
I can take it.
Great power comes great responsibility.
We have a fault. Get to the chopper! Handy! It's the flesh wound.
I am the father.
Out of the polluted waters it came, to become the most fearful menace that ever threatened mankind. Feeding, growing ever more deadly on Smog. Only one force dared stand up to its overpowering evil.
Godzilla!
Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. Will Godzilla, man's friend, be vanquished?
More than 1,600 dead have been reported, while other casualties are expected to exceed 30,000. The main storage tank of the Japan Oil Company has exploded.
Nothing man can do can stop the Smog Monster. Can Godzilla save the Earth from this mastodon of destruction?
And we are back for episode 21 of the Monster Movie Stompdown and continuing our Godzilla and Kong double episodes, which, if you guys have not paid attention to the news, Legendary and Warner Brothers decided to throw a huge pickle in our plan here because we are no longer getting a March release of Godzilla versus Kong. It's been freaking pushed back to November. I'm not happy about that whatsoever because they came out and they said, "Oh, we want if we delay it, we want to make sure we're delivering an A+ film." I get it. They're kind of scared because King of the Monsters didn't do as good as they were hoping it was going to do. It was still a success, but nothing like Kong, Skull Island, or the 2014 Godzilla was. So I get that, but pushing it back a whole nother year, or 8 months, practically, but a year for us because they released that information like a week or two ago. Very, very, very disappointing. And what aggravates me even more is that, okay, if you're going to push a movie back so they can do as good as possible, give the best movie, why are you putting it up against in the same time frame as one of Marvel's biggest releases of next year? One of their only two releases that's going up against the Eternals. What? Like, are you? Oh yeah, this is the dumbest decision ever. So, not happy about it. I get it. I understand you want to make the best movie. They want because they do. I mean, they haven't stated, but they do, and Toho's has let it be known that they're okay with it. They do want to continue the Monsterverse. Legendary would like to continue it past this. So I understand with the move. Hey, they want to keep going because it is a good market. But so I understand playing it safe, but still. 8 more months. Oh, so aggravating.
Yeah.
But so,
and not only it throws off the timing. We had this.
It does.
Shows time to perfect. It throws off the timing of our shows.
Oh yeah, we had everything planned.
Well, maybe can we put a phone call in and
we'll just call him.
Yeah,
call Thomas.
Hey,
like, look, dude, you screwed us on this.
You know what you've done here.
Our fan base of like 150 listeners are not happy right now.
That's right.
But I mean, we'll still continue out. We'll continue to March to do the doubles because we'll finish out through the Kong films. We'll at least keep that going, and then we'll switch it up from there and go back to probably a regular. We'll figure it out. We'll do something, and we'll do something big before the movie comes out. But thanks, Legendary and Warner Brothers. Appreciate that one. But so now we're back. We just did the 76 King Kong, which we all absolutely love that film. And now we're with the next Godzilla film, which is probably the wildest ride of the entire Showa era. with Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. I was super excited to watch this one because I remember watching this one as a kid. This was what you showed to me, obviously, as a kid, because this was your first one in theaters, was it, Mark?
In theaters, yes. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
The Castle, right?
They were Castle Theater, good old Newcastle, Indiana.
Nice. Ruben, did you get to see this one in theater?
Yes, I did. At that famous Ayers Theater where I saw Kong.
Yeah.
Oh,
He talked about
King
last
Kong,
time. Yeah.
same one.
Yeah.
That was the only theater in town that would show these type of movies, believe it or not, like the Godzilla. I know I've mentioned it in other when we did other shows, but that theater, I mean, we had it was, well, back then it was easier to have independent, unlike today. That was one of the few independents that would show that kind of stuff. So, I mean, they got King Kong and they regularly had Godzilla movies on. If it got released to the U.S., they would show it.
Oh, see, that's cool.
I got to see it there. Yeah.
Didn't
So
get
it
to
was
see
pretty
this
cool.
one in theaters, unfortunately. But hey, Mark rented I don't know if you rented it or if it was on TV or what, but we showed me this one when I was young, man. And I remember I was telling my wife this one, and we'll jump into the synopsis here real quick and start, going on it. But I'm just telling, because my wife actually watched this one with me. And what was cracked me up about it, though, is she doesn't watch Godzilla films. Unless she's just really I'm really want to watch a Godzilla film and she just wants to hang out with me, and then she'll come, but she doesn't pay any attention whatsoever. Like, she's watched the new ones by Legendary because they're at least entertaining and modern enough for her. But these classics or these old ones, forget it. Like, it's not happening. But she decided last night to watch this one, and I said, "Boy, you couldn't have picked a wilder film of the history to watch." She's like, "Why?" I told her, I was like, "Well, I mean, we put a clean show." Ruben was joking about it earlier. I was like, "But if there was ever, a Godzilla movie you would push to somebody who does mind-altering drugs, it would be this film." Like, this film is freaking crazy.
I compared it to the Pink Floyd, if you want to, it's a Pink Floyd later show of, Godzilla movies. That's what it is. Yeah,
it really is.
Exactly what it is. Yeah.
So real quick synopsis of the film. In this one, of course, by this point in history, in the show era, Godzilla's full blown hero at this point, and big for children's films, and that's what it's kind of become. Obviously, with Godzilla's Revenge, which we just tortured ourselves through. But with this one, the creature in this one, the Smog Monster, is actually, her name's Hedorah, is actually a group of beings. It's not actually just one, called Hedorium. They're actually a mineral life form that falls to Earth on a comet or an asteroid, which they never really show. They just kind of hint at it. And because of the pollution going on in Japan, the Hedorium, cling to the pollution, start to grow, actually have multiple forms in the film. And of course, the very heavily anti-pollution message in this film. But as the Hedorah starts to destroy ships and eat more pollution, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's up to our main cast, the scientist and his son, to try and find a way to stop the Smog Monster, stop the Hedorah, which of course is Dr. Yano, and then his son Ken, who is probably the most my favorite character of the film. Really go above and beyond to try and find a way to stop this thing. Actually, one great scene in the movie early on, Dr. Yano is scuba diving, trying to get some samples because of the pollution, and the Hedorah has been seen, trying to find out what's going on, and he gets attacked. And I really wish they'd put the full attack in there, because when you see the aftermath of this, his whole right side of his face is all silver and corroded and just looked awesome. I'm like, man, this is really cool. But so of course, things get worse and worse and worse, and Hedorah continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then Godzilla shows up and finally has to go toe to toe with him. Actually, 3 different times in the film, and it all culminates to a big final fight at Mount Fuji between Godzilla and Hedorah. And then, of course, the Japanese Self-Defense Force comes in to help a helping hand, although it doesn't really work, and Godzilla pretty much has to do it on his own. And there's an awesome little piece at the end where Godzilla's got this look of just like, you're a waste of my time. I'll do this. It's a great, fun monster romp. I mean, it's really cool. There's a lot more history in this film that's more interesting. Well, I mean, the film's interesting anyways, because, I mean, this movie goes way out there. I mean, from 1970s, very, not disco music, but very dance club music, and just a lot of vibrant colors and weird things, and hallucinating, seeing people looking like fish heads and cartoons thrown in the middle. This one is out there. You just don't know what to expect in this film at any point. Anything can happen. I had like last night watching with my wife. I paused it in one scene before one of the cartoons comes up, and she's like, "Well, you don't have to pause it to wait for me." She had to run to the bathroom or something. I don't know. I said, "No, you got to see how crazy this movie is." So I hit play, and she's watching it, and she's like, and all of a sudden that first cartoon pops up, and she's like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "Who knows?" Like it's just part of the movie, And but it's a wild ride, and it's to me it was super super fun. But there's a big history on this one. So much happened behind the scenes. It actually makes this movie even more interesting. During the filming of this one, of course, now at this point in Godzilla, Ishiro Honda has stepped away, not doing Godzilla films anymore. This is Aija Tsuburaya's. I don't even think he was in this one. Actually, this was the first one that was all Teruyushi Nakano, if I believe. I believe Aiji was totally gone because he did not agree with a lot of the big heads at Toho and how they were handling Godzilla, because he felt Godzilla needed to be much more kid-friendly. They were starting to show Godzilla bleeding, and this one, Godzilla just gets totally trashed in this film. I mean, his eyes just melted out at one point. His hands all looks like a skeleton, and so it's he totally disagreed with it, and so he actually left. Button heads with Toho, so he didn't do the special effects anymore. At this point, it was Teruyushi Nakano who did it, who would take on and do special effects from here on out as the special effects director up until I believe it was Godzilla's Biollante, which is when Koichi Kawakita took over. And man, that dude was phenomenal also. But so you really didn't have anybody of the original Big Four. This is the first one without anybody. I mean, Tanaka's credited as producer, but he really wasn't, because he was actually in the hospital. He was very sick during the filming of this movie. And they had hired Yoshimitsu Banno, which some people may know that name from the newer Godzilla films, because he was actually an executive producer for the 2014 Godzilla film for Legendary. And, of course, he passed away before King of the Monsters was done. And at the end of the film, you actually see a tribute in honor of to Yoshimitsu Banno and Haruo Nakajima in the credits of this film. So for those who are like, who's, we see the picture of Haruo as Godzilla, but who's the other guy? Who's Banno? Banno did Godzilla vs. Smog Monster. So Banno kind of had a little bit of a free reign with this because Tanaka was in the hospital, and he even wrote a sequel for this one that never got greenlit, because by the time Tanaka got out and saw the finished product, he was furious, absolutely not happy with this film, because it is very heavily messaged for anti-pollution, extremely anti-pollution, and this movie really does go in a lot of directions. Like I said, all the psychedelic stuff, the cartoons, just it's out there. But to me, that's what makes it a lot of fun. So, but it was a really good movie. Still, I mean, you could see Godzilla. This one wasn't as childish by far as Godzilla's Revenge, or even Son of Godzilla. This actually was pretty dark in a lot of areas, considering the time frame that it came out in. But it did pretty good. I mean, the movie had a budget of 90 million yen, and actually did 300 million yen in the box office. So not huge. I mean, it still wasn't one of the bigger Godzilla films, but had a really good turnaround as far as profit on this film. And then, of course, after released in 1971 over in Japan, like all Godzilla films, gets picked up for release over here by AIP. Taitra Studios does the dubbing, and then they releases Godzilla vs. Smog Monster, and it was actually became one of the biggest fan favorites in America, because it was one of the last ones that was shown in theaters. Like I said, Mark, you saw it, Ruben, you saw it, and it made almost a constant run on TV. I mean, almost every weekend it seemed like, especially when I was looking it up, because obviously I wasn't born then, was constantly on TV. And I can remember it as a kid, in my generation, this was constantly on rotation on TNT's Monster Vision. It was constantly on rotation on Sci-Fi Channel's Godzilla Pictures on Saturdays. So, I mean, everybody saw this film. It would just had a really good response here in America. But Tanaka didn't like it. Boy, he was furious about this one. So let's go ahead and go through. Oh, actually,
he had actually quoted, they quoted him that he accused Banno of ruining
Godzilla. Yep.
Yeah.
I do remember reading that. So, which I mean, I don't know. I think it was a little bit of a high horse, for that one, because I thought it was a good film.
I liked it.
You know what? It was an improvement over the last one.
Oh my gosh, yes.
How can you say that? I'm like, wait a minute. It's psychedelic with everything going on, it was an improvement over the last one. Even the child, this one was the same as the other one, where you had a child
as a main character.
The main, but this one was so much better.
Oh yeah,
so
Ken
much
was
more relatable. As far as Ken was by far, way better. And it's just, if you're gonna do that, it was good. And I'm like, it's an improvement. I mean, I could see the criticism, but at the same time, I'm like, wait a minute, this is a step up, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, you go through
when you look at the big picture, yeah.
And if you look at go through and look at the G fan base, there's not a lot of people out there that are going to dog this movie. You're going to find so many more praise this film versus negate this film as far as the Showa series. I mean, it's got a strong fan base, and I think for a lot of good reasons. And let's jump into those reasons. So let's go with things we liked and didn't like. And Ruben, you want to jump first on this one?
Sure. I actually liked the story. I thought it was really good. It was original, especially for someone like me who grew up in that time with all this stuff going on. I was a kid, so I really didn't understand a lot of it, but the pollution and all that, it was very 70s. I like the way they did the story. As a matter of fact, I found the story to be a lot like you guys. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on the show, but I'm a huge wrestling fan going back to the 70s. And as I'm watching the film, I'm like, this is set up kind of like a wrestling storyline. You have in wrestling, you have a baby face, which is Godzilla, and then you have the heel, which is going to be the Smog Monster. And usually in wrestling, they go through this whole thing, and it's like the heel gets the better of the hero like 3 or 4 times before the hero finally comes out on top. I mean, that's standard wrestling storyline. You could throw a couple of steel chairs in there or whatever, but that's how it is. I'm like, hey, I'm watching this, and I'm like, hey, this is structured kind of like a wrestling storyline. And also, what I liked about it is the way it was structured. It reminded me of this old movie that I used to watch in the 70s. In fact, I saw it in the theaters also. It's the man who's, what is it called? Oh man, it just went blank. It was one of those old disaster movies. The Man Who Saw Tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
It was on Nostradamus. It was a movie about Nostradamus. Yep. So I'm like, man, this has a lot of the same elements. Then I look up what Bano did. He actually did a Nostradamus movie in 1974. And I'm like, well, shoot, this is a coincidence. So I like the way it was structured, only because it reminded me a lot of it had a lot of wrestling in it for me anyway. I don't know if our listeners feel the same way, but I kind of saw it that way. And so I like the story. The Smog Monster, I thought they could have done a little bit better as far as design, but it was okay. Thought it was a little bit too bulky for me, but it worked out. The action sequences look good. So I like the storyline. The music was pretty out there, but I dug it. It was pretty cool. Now, I watched the Japanese version of the film, so I didn't get to hear even though I know of it, I didn't get to hear the Save the Earth version. I actually saw read and heard the Japanese version of that same song that's got a different song. And it's a different title and sung by somebody different. So I got to watch that. So, I mean, I liked the movie overall was good. It was a step up from the last one. Is it the very best? Would it be in my top 5? Maybe not, but it's still a good film. It's fun to watch. I really liked how, Godzilla, from lack of a better term, really gets his butt handed to him a couple of times in this.
Oh yeah.
In this movie, he ends up walking out of that okay, but he was pretty beat up.
That was even
as far as like up to this point, as far as the Showa era, this is the most beat up I've seen Godzilla. You can say Mothra defeated him, but he wasn't as beat up as he was in this movie.
Oh no!
This movie, he actually took a beating. Yeah, he took a beating in this movie.
Even my wife made a comment watching it. She was like, he looked like he has a pretty rough day. At one point, I'm like,
I mean, he's got all kinds of stuff going. I mean, he went through a battle, and I'm like, man, this is the first movie of the Showa era where Godzilla actually, he came out ahead, but he took some damage and he went down quite a bit in this movie. You always hear arguments online about Godzilla's never been defeated, and Godzilla, well, he's been beat up quite a bit, and especially in this one. But that made the movie a little bit more enjoyable for me because it was an adversary that actually challenged Godzilla.
Yeah,
I mean, I
agree.
The Smog Monster. Yeah, the Smog Monster was immune to Godzilla's nuclear breath. I'm like, whoa, this is, that's unheard of. And I'm surprised it's not talked about more, really, on the online community. So I really like that about it. It was really fun. Like I said, I mean, yeah, it could have been made better, but all in all, it's a good film. There's not much I didn't like about it. I mean, when we talk about what we didn't like, I'll get into it. But overall, it's a good film. I mean, if I had to, there's so many Godzilla movies. I'd like to put it in the top 10, but then I don't know if I would after seeing all, after ranking all these Godzilla movies.
I mean, 35.
It'd be tough. I'd like to say top 10, but I could be wrong because then when I start ranking them, it may end up, in the bottom half. But it's still a good film, and especially if you want to have some fun with somebody and put that on, during a party. After they had it.
Yeah.
Because, there's some weird things going on there, which I'll talk about in some of the dislikes. But that's it about me for the likes. I mean, there wasn't much I didn't like. What I didn't like is going to be very minor.
What about you, Mark?
So
What'd you like?
I'll hand it up next.
A fun movie. I liked it. Going to the movie theaters and seeing it was pretty special. When I was 72, I was 11 years old and getting to go see Godzilla. I was pretty pumped up. And then, you get there and it's a slight twist on the Godzilla movies that I've seen before. And being that my favorite band's Pink Floyd's always been Pink Floyd. So, I mean, it just kind of went hand in hand. I was really happy with it. And, but I thought overall, I liked the different phases of the Smog Monster. As he goes through, and Godzilla's got to fight each one, and he does take a smacking around a little bit, but I think obviously the fight scenes I thought were the bright spots of the movie. It was just fantastic, and they seemed to be a lot of these scenes into it. And I liked the characters, the acting. I thought everything was good. Soundtrack wasn't real happy with, but overall I think as the movie I was very happy with it. Enjoyed it. Walked out with my popcorn from the movie theater smiling and the whole 9 yards. So very good movie. I enjoyed it.
Man, I did. I mean, we all enjoyed this film. I like this film. There's a few things I didn't like, but I'm with you guys. The fight scenes were great, and like Mark, you said, I loved seeing. This was the first monster Godzilla fought that actually evolved through the film, and had different stages, which again we would see later. Especially look at Destroya. You know what I mean? We saw it again in Biollante, 2 stages, but Destroya had 4. Like Hedorah did. So that was really cool because each version of Hedorah posed its own difficulties for Godzilla. And
he looks pretty bad in that final stage when you see him like standing off to afar. Hedorah was, and so he looked pretty cool there, and it was like, dude, here we go. This thing's going to go down right now.
One of the things I liked about it is I mean, Ghidorah when Ghidorah showed up, Ghidorah was definitely much bigger, than Hedorah was. But the way that they shot this, Hedorah, the Smog Monster, looked bigger, towards Godzilla than Ghidorah did. And I love that. That shot on Mount Fuji, when you first see them face to face, it's like, dude, this is like a wrestling match. It's like, it's about to go down, And it was super, super good. The fight scenes, I think, are really spectacular in this film. Even, the first fight scene when he's, I guess you would call it the aggregate stage. He's not the tadpole form. He's not the flying form. When he's sucking the smoke on the chimneys, and Godzilla first comes ashore, Godzilla, is more than anything else chasing him away at that point. And you can kind of see Godzilla's kind of like, I don't know what to do here or how to handle this thing. He's kind of feeling it out. Then of course it progresses, when he fights him in the flying form, which I love that fight scene because of so many things. One, it's bright in the day and it looked beautiful. In the factories that they're fighting at, in the bright of the sunlight, everything looked awesome. The explosions were great. But that was another scene where the movie really took a dark turn because you see Hedorah fly over those crowds of people and they just start to disintegrate because of the sulfuric acid he's producing. And that was dark. So, again, another reason why IG Tsuburaya left, but super dark for a Godzilla film. Right. You're seeing chunks of flesh and skeletons. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, well, especially in the part where, the little boy comes running up, lead character, and he runs right on top of it. And so, wanting to be child friendly, it definitely went the opposite direction. Yeah. On that.
It definitely did. But it was so good. And then you go to that last fight scene, man, on Mount Fuji, and it's just, it's awesome. I remember as a kid thinking, like there's that scene where Hedorah, who he just pummels Godzilla several times. Burns his eye with the acid sludge, and he's down to one eye, and he picks him up and drops him, flies off with him in that crevice or whatever.
That pit.
Yeah, and then I remember as a kid thinking, like, man, this thing he's releasing that acidic sludge on the Godzilla. Yeah. It's like, dude, he's straight up diarrheaing on him at this point. It's pretty gross looking. I'm like, man, Godzilla's flapping around it. I'm like, this is disgusting. Even my wife was like, that's gross. I'm like, it's a rough day for him. And it was really good. And I liked, I liked the human elements. I think I liked Ken a lot. Ken was just for a child character. I really liked him. He wasn't afraid to get down and dirty or get right in the front of the fight, and he was just a lovable character, which I thought was really, really cool. Of course, I love the Godzilla suit. This is the hero Godzilla suit, and we see destroy all monsters, and he'll come up soon to Godzilla Skygan and stuff. And I love the way Hedorah looked. I thought it was really cool, even though I absolutely hate glitter, but the way he sparkled almost like glitter, I thought it was really cool. And my wife was even like, why is he sparkle? I'm like, well, it's because he's actually minerals, and that's mixed with the sludge and stuff in it. And
that's a great attention to detail part of the movie that I kind of enjoyed, is that, well, if you're going to say he's this, that he would have that as part of him. He's a mineral. And not only that, but he came off of a meteorite or comet, whichever. So that was an attention to detail that I kind of enjoyed.
Yeah, I thought they did really well with that. It's a fun movie. One of the things I liked, I think, most about this movie is actually this was the first big role for the guy who plays Hedorah in this film is none other than Kenpachiro Satsuma, who would take over as Godzilla in 1984 and play Godzilla all the way through to Destroya, and who in all honesty, is my favorite Godzilla, because my favorite Godzilla film is the 84 film. And so Kenpachiro, Ken is definitely my favorite Godzilla that there is. And so I was excited for him taking on this role. And something that my wife had stated watching the film too, which I didn't realize or think about until she stated this. And then I started thinking about his role as Godzilla. I'm like, wow, he really was. She said, I told her, hey, the guy that's playing the Smog Monster, he's who takes over for Haruo and plays Godzilla from 84 to 95. And she's like, he's really fluid in his movements in comparison to Haruo. And I started paying attention, and I was like, he really is. And you really see that development into the Heisei Godzilla, into Ken's Godzilla versus Haruo's. Ken's was a lot more fluid. And that was just something that she brought up that I just never noticed. And I thought was really, really cool. And a side note, a little bit of a cool fun fact for the listeners is the Hedorah suit was actually extremely difficult. It took him a long time to get that suit on him and off him. In the middle of filming, his appendix ruptured.
Whoa.
And they could not get him out of the suit. So they had to rush him to the ER in the suit and perform surgery in the suit. So
not laughing at him, laughing with him.
Yeah. So, this film literally almost killed Kempachiro.
I told you that suit was too bulky.
Yeah, it was just too much for him. But yeah, so I mean, his first major debut almost killed him, and
Wow.
so I was like, man, that's crazy. So,
Yeah.
but so that's I mean, there's a lot I like about it, and we'll jump right into the dislikes because there's a few things I didn't like about the film. Actually, no, I'm sorry. One more thing I did like about the film. Again, I stated a little bit earlier. The human characters, Dr. Yano and his son, come up with the device that because his son states, if we could just dry out Hedorah, we could kill him. And Dr. Nino's like, oh, yeah, you're right. So they build these two massive, the army build these two massive electrical panels. One's a positive and one's a negative to shoot an electrical current through that'll dry out Hedorah and the minerals.
Hedorah.
And it's genius. And so they got to use electricity to do it. But they can't get the electricity to work. You know what I mean? Like the power lines get broke and then they're like, oh, they reroute it and then they get it turned on for like a few seconds and then it goes down again. Then there's this awesome shot where Godzilla is like holding up Hedorah for the army to turn these things on, and then the power goes out and he just has this look of like, you freaking kidding me? And so he just blows his fire and hits it and it gets it working. I'm like, I love that shot. Godzilla's almost like, I gotta do everything for you guys.
It's kind of like a Thanos, I'll do it myself moment.
Yeah, it is.
Definitely.
Fine, I'll do it myself.
And it was, man,
kind of like,
that's definitely one of my favorite scenes in the film. But now, so as far as things I didn't like about the film, as crazy as this movie was, I mean, because you got the crazy soundtrack, the crazy scenes, it goes from very heavily anti-pollution to dead bodies to psychedelic fish head people and hallucinations to cartoons. The cartoons were the one thing I didn't like about the movie.
Yeah.
Not that I thought they were bad. It's just they were very out of place for me. Like if I go back and if I could do anything, I edited Godzilla 1985, my own version. If I was to sit down and edit a version of this movie, all I would do is just take out the cartoons because I feel like it would flow.
Yeah, it wasn't.
easier.
It didn't.
Yeah.
There was no. It wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
Just wasn't
not
necessary. It was completely that left turn of this new Godzilla film that was like, okay, this is what are we doing here? I'm into this, and then now I got a cartoon. So I don't know, it just wasn't necessary.
So I didn't care for that. I'm not going to hark on too much on the special effects because I thought special effects were pretty good, especially considering the budget at the time of this. There was not as many likable characters as I'm used to in a Godzilla film. This was the first one where I was kind of like, I like Ken. That's about it. At least in the other previous Godzilla films, other than Godzilla's Revenge, there's 2 or 3 or maybe 4 characters.
Right.
I'm like, I really like this character and that character. I was kind of let down the human department on this film. But my ultimate complaint, which some listeners who have seen this movie is probably like, how have they not brought this up yet? Godzilla should never, ever, 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 ever fly. Why they did that and who thought that was a good idea? Even Sarah was like, is he flying? What is he doing? He's even tucking his tail. She was even like, this is just absurd. I'm like, yes, it is. The movie's famous for it. I mean, I watched, I think back to Monster Zero when he does that pop dance, on the planet. Yeah. Which I'm like, why did you do that? And it's like, I understood why they did that in Monster Zero because that was such a big thing at the time.
Right.
Why did Godzilla fly? What is the point in that? There was that I couldn't stand it. I absolutely hated it. It looked stupid. It was dumb. It was not even physically possible. Like,
and that's probably where Tanaka comes back with that quote, "You have ruined Godzilla."
That would be the scene there.
Exactly.
I would definitely see that because it makes no sense. I think that's Bana was like, "Hey, none of this makes sense. Let's just let this happen. Why not? Let's just go for it."
It's 71. Let's do this.
We're gonna go big and go home on this one, big time. That honestly though, that's my only real complaints. The soundtrack was weird and kind of odd, but that saved the English version when they redid the song and to save the earth, that gets stuck in your head. I remember that as from a kid.
Yeah.
That's kind of like one of the things. It's like, oh, which version I want to watch. Me and Ruben were talking about. It's like I really want to watch this version because I want to hear "Save the Earth." It's kind of part of it. It comes with it nostalgically. The soundtrack wasn't that bad, but I'm not gonna say it's a complaint because "Save the Earth" was so good and gets stuck in your head so easy that I'm like, yeah, it's cool. So lack of good human characters and of course Godzilla flying, definitely my biggest complaints on this film. Other than that, man, super, super fun. Ruben, what about you? What about your dislikes?
I dislike same thing. I didn't like that scene where Godzilla was flying. I thought it was silly. Yeah. Even for a kid, I know this movie, like the one right before this that we did right before this one, was geared toward kids, but this movie had a real serious note. So I don't know if I would want to say this was geared totally toward a kid, but it had some serious stuff in it. So that made me kind of think about it. So I didn't like that, even though, like I said, I think the movie ultimately was geared for kids. And one thing that really, really bothered me is that scene on Mount Fuji where they're doing their little, I don't know,
anti-pollution party, whatever.
Anti-pollution party, and they're strumming their acoustic, and they're doing, and then all of a sudden it breaks out, and there's a dude in the middle of the field playing an electric guitar.
Oh, dude, like, yes, I forgot about that. No, not just the dude playing electric guitar. I mean, it's just him on his acoustic, and you're right. Like split second, he hits one chord, and all of a sudden there's a full band. There's drums, saxophone, electric guitar player. I'm like, where's the generator for this stuff? Like, how did this just happen? Yeah, that sticks out like a sore thumb. Pretty hardcore.
Yeah, it's that part, and then the part which maybe I missed something on all these watchings, but there's a scene where they break out in the party, and there's like four old elders just looking at them. Oh yeah, kind of just, did you say?
Very creeper-like.
What are they doing there? They're kind of just like watching, like what the hell's wrong with these people? What are they doing?
And I think one of them, if you go back and look, and I don't think he's supposed to be the same character, I don't know, but one of those old guys is that old guy from the very beginning that comes to see Dr. Yano, like in the first 5 minutes of the film.
The old fisherman.
The old fisherman.
The old fisherman.
That brings that brings that weird looking fish that, and that maybe that's him. I'm like, okay, so what are they doing there?
Well, that whole scene where Ken goes up and he sees the skeletons they've just fried right in front of him. He turns around and runs back down the alley, and then the next thing you know, he's at the party and he's dancing. And he's it's like
I just watched some people die. No big deal.
and that's the stuff that bothers me, because like in one scene, like they pay the attention to detail and creating the Smog Monster, but then they go out and do this psychedelic, I don't know what it is, one of the comparisons I make to this movie, another comparison, this is, for you Metallica fans, this is the Saint Anger of Godzilla movies also. Because it's like, okay, James Hetfield goes over to rehab, and then Lars takes over and comes out with Saint Anger.
It's like,
it's not a bad album, but what happened? This is not.
Definitely.
Something went wrong here. Well, instead of a hospital, James Hetfield went to rehab. So it's just, it was like, I mean, that's kind of stuff kind of bothered me. I really didn't mind. The music was funky, but then you got to think about, okay, when was it made? And is it memorable? It is. So I don't really hold it against it that much, because it's not like it was made in 2010 or something. If this was released in 2010, then I'd say, man, this music, forget about it.
yeah.
But so that's basically all I didn't like about it is that, there's not really too many dislikes. I mean, other than those details, they're just details, but they bothered me enough that I'm like, no, seeing Godzilla flying in that way, and it's like, no, that's not even physically possible. No, that's not right. I'd rather see him do that dance again.
I wouldn't even accepted that, him flying in Godzilla's Revenge. Like, as ridiculous as that movie is, I still couldn't even do that one. Couldn't do it.
Yeah, that was more of a drop kick type thing there on that one. So that one, but this one was like, I just don't know what they were thinking when they said, well, he needs to fly. Oh, well, let's do it this way. I'm like, I don't know. So that's all that's about it, otherwise I enjoyed the film thoroughly.
Mark, what about you? Dislikes?
Well, I'm not even going to bring up the flying, because we're all in agreement on that.
Sad day in Godzilla fandom.
The soundtrack and Save the Earth, but I think the rest of the soundtrack didn't have much to it. And I think what he was trying to do was Save the Earth, which was kind of funny, because my granddaughter is running around while I'm watching this movie, and then the next thing I know, I hear her in the other room singing. Stay here.
Dude,
So it is catchy. It
There
is
you go.
catchy. But it was. I think he was trying to hit like the late '60s, early '70s British rock scene. If you've seen any live concerts from that era, and having that background and that psychedelic type atmosphere.
Yeah, there's a Black Sabbath video that has that kind of. I think it's Iron Man.
Oh yeah,
and it's got that lava lamp thing going on behind you.
Right.
The Doors is another one that kind of
Pink
comes to mind.
and early Pink Floyd did it too. I mean, that was just about any of that.
Pink Floyd,
that British rock style, and but I think overall I did like the movies. Just the flying, a little bit of the soundtrack, and I think that that was the main things that I didn't like about it. So overall, like again, I had my popcorn. I was happy. I was smiling walking out of the theater.
It is. I mean, as far as Godzilla films, it is a fun film. I mean, there are definitely a lot worse films in the collection of movies, I think, than this one. And this one, I mean, Bano never gave up on this, actually. I mean, in the early 2000s, he was trying to strike a deal to do a Godzilla 3D film in which he was bringing Hedorah back. And of course, I mean, that never got off the ground, but I would have loved to have seen that. I thought, still been really, really cool. But he still, even though Tanaka definitely said, here's the boot, you're fired type deal from this one, still came back, man. And I mean, if it wasn't for him, I mean, I don't think we would have gotten as good of Godzilla from Legendary as we did, because I mean, we didn't have Tanaka, we don't have Honda, we don't have any of those guys, the big four to carry on and help bring the torch over to the United States, but we had Bono, and Bono loved the character, and I think did a fantastic job with this movie, and did a great job producing Legendary's Godzilla.
Right.
So I mean, it's super, super fun film though. I mean, it's one of those ones where I mean, Ruben said it for a couple of them. It's one of those. It's fun to just, even if you're just cleaning the house or doing whatever, throwing it on in the background because it's just a great time, especially nostalgically. I mean, it's again, you see it you go to any public library for the video section. Back at least from when I was a kid, or even now probably, and guaranteed, don't care what public library you go to, in their movie rental section, there's a copy of Godzilla vs. Smog Monster there. It's like I saw it
and
everywhere.
Monster Zero, those two are, that and Monster Zero are guaranteed to be in your library.
And the movie they twinned it up with in America was Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, and then the other movie was the Frogs that accompanied that. So I mean, it was a really good outing as far as movies went. So
that's
and here we didn't get Frogs. We just got Godzilla and Smog Monster. That was it. There was no double feature or anything. I've noticed in a lot of them that we did, it says double feature, and I'm like, man, I don't remember it. It could be I was small enough that they just took me over to see Godzilla, and I didn't see the first one. Maybe there was a intermission or something, but I would have remembered Frogs.
Oh yeah,
I would have remembered that. Yeah, I would have remembered that was not. And it wasn't there, so I just got to see it, in that old theater. But I'm with Mark. I came out of that theater. I was just happy to get a Godzilla movie.
Right.
Anytime it was an event, every time there was a Godzilla movie. So, because you just didn't see them that often, and I didn't anyway. So, it was an adventure. It was great. I was, like Mark said, I came out of that with a big old smile on my face, and me and my friends, because we just saw Godzilla.
Exactly. Exactly.
So this one, I think Ruben, you said it right earlier. I mean, is this going to make the top 5 on my list? No, definitely not. It may make the top 10 in my list, but not the top 5. If it didn't, it would be like 10 to 15. It would definitely be in that group 100%. But I mean, it's definitely better than the last one. Actually, it's better than the last 3 in my opinion. Sea Monster, Son of Godzilla, and Revenge. I thought this was better.
This one had a lot of action in it. I mean, when you think about it, even the movie ran just under an hour and a half. Hour and 25 minutes.
Just under. Yep.
At least that's what the Criterion said. It's hour and 25 minutes.
Yeah,
and,
I think it was like an hour 25, hour 20. Yeah, I think hour 25.
But they packed a lot of action in there, and it there was no lulls in the movie. You
No,
know, it was
definitely
pretty
not at
much,
all. Yeah.
they kind of moved. They moved pretty fast, and I really enjoyed the fact that Godzilla, it was a battle. It wasn't like, okay, Godzilla's going to win. It's just a matter of he's toying with them. No, Hedorah gave him a run for his money. So that was really fun to watch.
It definitely was. I mean, I think it really set the precedence too for the next couple films, or at least 2 of the next 4 films, because we're almost out of the show era now. We've only got 4 left, and then we move into the Heisei.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that this helped precursor some of the fights in the next Godzilla film. Actually, 2 of the next 4.
Because the fights definitely get bloodier and more and good. Godzilla, Gigan, and all they. You're right. This sets the stage up. So as much as they would like to say that Bano didn't do a great job, he basically set the rest of the show up here.
I do. I think he really set a tone for it. Definitely set a tone for it.
Yeah, he set the tone.
We got one oddball out of the next 4, but for the other 3, I really feel like this film definitely set the tone. Yeah,
you're right. I forget about that oddball publicity, but yeah, like Gigan and the Mechagodzilla ones, they're really pretty violent, considering for a Godzilla movie anyway.
Oh yeah.
For a Godzilla movie, they're pretty violent, and I think from here on out too. Well, you still have Godzilla's still a hero, so to speak, but there's that one. I'm not going to call it a sore thumb because that gives it a bad name, but there is that one movie that we're going to, and I'm assuming you're referring to Megalon.
Oh yeah,
is that the one you're referring to?
Oh,
yeah, okay. I'm making sure we're on the same page.
Which I mean that one
kind of goes a little bit backwards towards the kids, but that has spies and stuff in it or whatever. But the rest of them, they're pretty violent and pretty, and to the point where I'm like, wow, this is, considering when it was made, this is pretty good, So I'm pretty excited about the next one's coming up too. So
I am too. Actually, all 4 of them. I mean, because even though, and we'll get to Megalon when we get there, but even as rough as the film that is, man, I think that sits in a lot of people's hearts for a lot of reasons. That's like I said, that was
an
oddball.
When I introduced my interview, it's an oddball compared to what we're about to go through, and I think our listeners would agree once they get to see all those 4. You're going to say, okay, which ones of all of these, which ones don't match? And you'll say, which one of these does not belong? Which one is it?
Definitely.
And I'm not saying that in a negative way.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
But all right, so we got to give this one, what would we say, 3 stomps?
3 stomps.
3 stomps out of 5.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a good rating for it. I mean, there's, it's not the best. Still, definitely for a solid 3. I mean, hands down, definitely worth watching. Right. Definitely entertaining.
It had to take some setback on the flying Godzilla. So
I mean that's worth 2 points.
Oh, like without a doubt.
Absolutely worth 2 points right there.
Yeah.
When I give my stomp rating, I always, I don't know how you guys do it. I always look at it. I try to look at the whole body of Godzilla movies and try to say, okay, where am I going to put this? Because if I give it, 4 stomps, and then all of a sudden we have another Godzilla movie, and I give it 3 stomps. I'm like, wait a minute, So when I'm giving my stomps, I always think, okay, now where would I put this as far as the whole Godzilla library, And that's how I come up with my stomps, because I like to leave room for the really great ones that deserve 5 and 4 stomps.
Right.
So
and we'll be getting some of those coming up pretty soon.
Yes.
Well, not immediately soon, but we got some definitely 4 to 5s coming up in the near future, so I'm pretty stoked about that. So anything else you guys want to add for this one?
No, I'm good.
No, I'm good too.
Man, such a good watch. I mean, it's fun. It is definitely, it's one of those Godzilla films where you're not gonna walk away disappointed, except for the flying scene. Other than that,
hey, you'll get a couple of laughs out of it. You'll sit there and get. It's a good time. You'll laugh and you'll. I really think the listeners who haven't seen it, I'm sure there's not very many. They would, I think, if they hadn't seen it, they'll say, "Wow, these battle scenes are great." Even with the silliness thrown in there, and the cartoons, of course. I forgot to mention that the dislikes. I really didn't. The cartoons kind of bothered me a little bit, but it's funny. I don't know if you guys have you seen the director's cut of The Warriors?
No, I've only seen the theatrical cut.
But it's so funny because the director inserted like comic scenes in between scenes.
Really?
In the original theater, yeah, and everybody hates it. They say, "Why did he do this?" And he was trying to, he wanted to be like an epic, and he wanted to separate it into different parts of the movies. What he said, but when I saw the cartoons, I said, "Yeah, I forgot the guy." When they re-released the Warriors, a director's cut of the Warriors, he did that. It wasn't a cartoon like this. It was like a comic scene.
Wow. I've not seen that.
I'm about to watch it now.
It gets panned. Yeah, it gets panned pretty much. It doesn't bother me that much, but it's kind of like he takes the movie and he kind of like, okay, this is the end of Act 1. Here's Act 2. Okay, this is the end of Act 2. Here's Act 3. And he does it like so that's what he tries to do. And I don't know if this is what Bano was shooting for, but if he was, he missed, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely foul ball on that one from Bano at least. So, but so super fun, and again, we recommend you guys watch this one. I mean, it's a blast. You won't get disappointed by any means.
It's a good watch.
Oh yeah. Memorable, definitely memorable. Because you never know. I mean, this is one of those ones where it's like, man, I wonder if you just like could time this with a Pink Floyd soundtrack and just see what happens. Because
see what happens, right?
It's kind
that's not a bad idea.
It's a wild ride for sure.
It's very possible. Very possible.
So, all right, well, go ahead, Ruben.
But I will like to point out to Mark that maybe he likes Pink Floyd because he was 11. Were you already into Pink Floyd when you were 11?
I was starting to get into it. Yeah.
Really? I wonder if this Godzilla movie is what actually got you into Pink Floyd.
Well,
that's what I was wondering.
Pink Floyd had, flying pigs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toho's got flying Godzilla. That's the way it works right there.
Yeah, you got flying Godzilla.
Yeah, there we go.
Thank you, Bono, for the Pink Floyd influence. So, well, right on. So, so that's that one. And, of course, now we'll be back, and we're going to continue this. We're going to do still keep going 2 films a month, finish out the Kong, Godzilla's together. Might as well get that out and just finish it up. And so the next episode's actually King Kong Lives, the 1986 sequel.
Yeah.
It is,
almost 10 years between it and the 76 remake. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys. After we did the Kong episode, I went and watched King Kong Lives like right after. Like I love that movie, dude. Like I'm not even going to pretend. Like it's rough, but oh man, it's just that holds a special place in my heart because I love that movie. So I'm super excited. It's kind of like that Big Hit, the movie with Mark Wahlberg and Ludwig Phillips. And they got that whole King Kong Lives joke in it. Oh, dude, that's me all the way. That's like my favorite part of that movie is King Kong Lives. But so super excited about that one. So the next one, of course, will be King Kong Lives. And the next Godzilla film, we'll move on to Godzilla vs. Gigan. A stock footage mess, but an absolutely awesome film. Like it's actually one of my favorites of the show is so for a lot of reasons. And I can't wait to jump in on that one. But anything else you guys want to add?
We're good here.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Well, guys, thank you again so much for listening. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Definitely check out Godzilla vs. Smog Monster. Most of you probably already have and probably agree. I mean, I don't find many people that don't like this film. Super, super fun. And then, of course, join us next month for King Kong Lives, which probably most people agree is the sad point of Kong's history. And then Godzilla vs. Gigan.
No. Yeah, you're probably right.
I wouldn't be. I
was going to go back to the original Godzilla, then the Son of Godzilla. I mean,
Son of Kong. Son of Kong's definitely. Well, so I don't know. My opinion, Son of Kong's the down point, but
but I think you want a copy or have a copy of that movie, don't you?
I have a copy.
Yeah,
I do. I'm a completionist, man. Let's go back to the Godzilla.
Well, I was heading in that direction. You just, just covered yourself. You're getting good. You're getting good.
I'm following it up here. Son of Kong, I have seen a whopping 2 times.
Yeah.
King Kong Lives, I've probably seen 20.
2 times more than you need to.
One time, is your initial review. I watched as a kid. And then I'm like, I get it later on when they release it on DVD. I'm like, was it really this bad as I remember popping in? Oh yeah, it was definitely as bad as I remember. Let's not do that again. So, but all right. Well, again, guys, thank you so much. This is Sludge
and Mark
and Ruben.
Y'all have a good night.